Welcome to another episode here on Tomachek Financial Team. This is our podcast series. We're happy to be with you. And remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon so that you can be updated when new videos are posted. Today we are pretty excited because we've got another important topic to talk about. And also we're going to be sharing the platform today with Anthony Gordon. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. So tell us a little bit about Anthony Gordon. Who is Anthony Gordon? We know the top of it is professor, financial planner, author. Well, tell us a little bit more.
So if you want to go back to basics, I am a lawyer before I did all these other things. I'm a lawyer, I'm a master's in taxation law. I practiced law before anything else. I started off doing estate planning, then I got into corporate commercial law. And from corporate commercial, I was going to be a tax lawyer, and then I decided, I don't know if I want to do that to myself. No offense to the tax lawyers. But it's not something I wanted to venture off into. As an estate, when I used to work with draft wills and do estate plans, I used to speak with financial planners all the time. And I really liked what looked like a great relationship they have with their clients. And so I decided to get into financial services. I'm a certified financial planner, chartered life underwriter, certified executor advisor, and more recently certified exit planning advisor, where I assist business owners.
So in terms of your financial services, what is your niche? What do you focus on? What's Anthony Gordon?
Okay, so if we talk about a niche, usually what I'm working with professionals, and I'm working with business owners. And what that looks like from a professional standpoint, a lot of times a lot of lawyers, because I'm a lawyer myself, so it kind of works that way. But it's other people who are also in the medical field, people who are directors, and then from a business owner standpoint, also have people who are lawyers who own their own firms, people who have agencies, people who have e-com stores. It all varies. The business owner part, it goes, it's kind of all over the place. But so that's kind of what it looks like.
So how is that how has that been in terms of working with these professionals and these small businesses in Canada?
Well, it's interesting. I will say in the last couple of years, it's really changed. When I just started off, I used to work with a lot more younger professionals, and then I started doing these seminars. It's called Taxes and Retirement. This is before COVID, and it put me in front of a completely different demographic, as you can imagine, retirement, taxes. And so I started to work with a lot more people who were baby boomers at that point. From then, and over time, I picked up a lot of business owners. In terms of what I've seen with a lot of professionals, generally the concern is often, how do I have enough? How am I going to do this in a tax efficient manner? When should I start pulling my withdrawals from all these different funds? I have RSP, TFSAs, I have all these pensions. And then you have the business owners. Right. A lot of business owners, they have a majority of their wealth is trapped in their business. I won't say trapped, but it's in their business. Right. And now we're looking at, okay, what does that transition look like? Either we're going to sell it to someone else, transfer it to the family, and how we pull that wealth from the business and bring it over. So it's a different dynamics, and it's a different type of planning.
So knowing that you have these clients that you deal with, without giving out the Anthony Gordon secrets, how do you approach clients like that, and how do you deal with that situation?
So I have a process. I have a process I call the CADDI process.
The CADDI.
The CADDI.
Okay.
CADDIE.
Right.
So it covers everything from our first discovery call all the way till the examination and review. It starts off with clarity. So so the C stands for clarity, and that is just a values conversation. I do values-based planning. I don't just throw numbers together. I want to know what's important to you. That first call, that first conversation we're having, it's mostly driven by what are your goals and dreams, where you are now, where do you want to go. That's where we have the clarity about where we need to go. And it also helps me create a value statement for what ultimately will become your family Inc. Right? Then after that, we start doing a bit of data collection. Now we're getting to what's called awareness. Right? So we know where you are. We know where you want to go. Now we get to the awareness of data collection, we know where you are. Right? So we start to see what's possible, what's not possible, where we need to make a lot of strides, or probably sometimes people are already there and not realizing that you can do that, right? Then we get to direction. Because now we know what we can work with, we decide on what are the different strategies, and it's important that you understand the strategies that we're going to implement. because that drives the tools and the different financial products. So now we have the strategies in place that we could potentially use, and we've kind of narrowed it down. We're not locked in, we could change. So that's the first D. The second D is direction. Once you have different strategies, we lay them out. These are, we could do this. Okay, now we're going to narrow. These are the ones we're going to implement. And then the next thing is the implementation. Well, when we go to implementation, this is where you have formed what I call your family Inc. or you Inc. if you're an individual. And at that point, we bring in all the other individuals we need to build essentially almost like a family office, if you will, around you. If we need lawyers, if we need mortgage brokers, realtors, whoever, we bring them in and we have that be the group of individuals that's going to take your vision from where you are to where you want to be. And then lastly is the ease examination, where we constantly review, and accountability too. You know, there are certain things you have to do.
You need that, right?
Yeah. So here's the thing. When you're in financial planning, the most important part is the ING.
Yeah.
Having a financial plan is just a piece of paper. It's just,
a
bunch of paper stuff. It's the action part of it, of actually executing the financial plan, that is most important.
Definitely. And so, most of our listeners, they come onto our channel, they want to know more about different things that are happening.
Yeah.
So let's say you are a young person, or you're just young in business in general. What do you say to that person getting into that business dimension? Like, how do you go about ensuring that you protect your interests, ensure that you're not exposed to too much of risk heading into, as a young business owner?
I mean, if you talk about risk management, get a piece of paper, get a pen. It's going to seem silly, but just work with me here. List every single thing that could go wrong.
Right.
Every single thing that could go wrong. I mean, think about it. You go, before the pandemic, you go, a pandemic, ha 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 ha. It could never happen. But it did happen.
Yeah.
But you list everything that could potentially go wrong. Now, there are obvious things, right? You could get sick, you can get ill, you could die, all these different things. You have insurance to cover things like that. From a business standpoint, you could have competitors underpricing you. You could have a technological gap, right? So you list all these things. The things that you can control, you obviously put them in place, right? You could get an illness, get some critical illness and get disability, right? If you're going to get injured. You could die, obviously life insurance. From a marketing standpoint, you have one source of where you're generating all your business from. Well, what if that platform changes? We know the algorithm changes all the time. What do I need to do? Okay, I'm great at this one platform. What can I do to diverse the ways that I earn business? And you start incorporating that in business. The things that you could control, you check off and you put those in place. The things that you can't control, then you try to mitigate as much as possible. So I know that's kind of broad, but it really is in today's days and time, especially if you're a business owner, that could be a whole documentary, right? So, but you just want to list it. And I know it's an exercise that I did when I started my business. I had a consultant I was working with. We did it, and I was kind of like, it's kind of ridiculous. But some of those things that I thought were ridiculous did actually come through. And some of it I mitigated before. Some of it I just had to deal with it when it came about. But so that's how I would.
So just write everything down, and then you just those you can control, those you can't, and try to mitigate as much as possible.
And you know what's shocking to me? How many of the things that we control and we just completely ignore.
Yeah.
Let's look at the obvious ones, right? Especially when you're just starting out a business.
Right.
The business is driven by you as an individual, and as an individual, so much of the business relies on you.
Yeah.
Right. And what if you're coming out of your car and you slip on ice and you fall? Like.
It can happen to anyone.
In fact, it happens to a lot of people, right? It happens to a lot of people. The chance of getting disability is higher than most people realize. It's pretty high. And so what you could do is look at getting a plan that covers that. Check, right? You could get a critical illness. Check. And if you're concerned about the fact that you're going to pay and it's not going to, at the end you lose all your money, I don't know, you could get return of premium and get all your money back at the end of the term, right? But it seems simple. And it is simple, but a lot of times, the execution and actual follow through is where a lot of times we fall. Start off with a list of things and really just protect yourself from the things that's obvious, and then a lot of things that you can't control. There's certain things you can't control. You can't control, what Bank of Canada is going to do tomorrow.
That's right. You just have to have something in place
Yeah.
in case it goes that direction or the other direction.
Absolutely.
Because you think about interest rates, we expected interest rates to probably come down long now, but it just came down the other day,
Exactly.
and then there's an anticipation that it might come down further,
Yeah.
but we don't know that for sure.
We don't.
So we got to be able to prepare that it
That's
doesn't.
right.
Definitely.
And one thing I'll add is keep that list and keep that as being part of your conversation piece.
Right.
I think as business owners, we often play so much in offense. We're going, and
Right.
sometimes we lose track of defense. Well, listen, you can score 8 goals. If your opponent scores 9, you lose, right? So
That's right. And you might have never scored 8 goals.
there you go.
Time is against us, and I know we're going to bring you back next
Yeah.
week to talk more about exit planning.
Yeah.
But in terms of business owners or getting into the to that realm of things, when should you do a financial plan?
Good question. Good question. When should you do a financial plan? This is how I see it. I think when you're just starting out, at a minimum, you got to do your budget, right? You got to look at what's going in, what's coming out, right? At a minimum, you start here. I think once you have that in place, the next thing is the risk management aspect of it, because you got to protect what you have already have in place. Once you're past the risk management stage, and then now you're starting to look past investment, because you probably have an emergency fund. Emergency fund is actually a part of risk management.
Right.
So once you're drifting past risk management, and now you're looking to start to have sources, you're going to start to invest. I think it's great to at least have conversation. You might not do a full-blown plan, but at a minimum, you want to look at the tax planning aspect of it and the risk management tax planning and the investment part of it. Why? A lot of people think they should only look about taxes once you start to make, tons of money.
Right.
But quite frankly, what you should be doing is create a framework that you put the money through.
Right.
Because if you put the money in the wrong place, when you go to pull it out,
It's going to be consequences for you in terms of.
exactly. Yeah.
So you're saying do the plan as
Once you're past
Earliest-
once you're past the financial management aspect
Yeah.
of it, which is cash flow budget.
Yeah.
Next is risk management. Once you're past the risk management and know you have sources you're going to start investing,
Yeah.
I think it's a great time you should reach out to a financial planner. And a financial planner, will be able to tell you what stage you are, or even
Right.
give you assistance on where you should go next.
So in terms of reaching out, how can people reach out to you? Anthony Gordon.
I have I've asked Anthony Gordon. I have Art of Retirement.
Yeah.
That's a blog which also have a book.
Yeah.
The book called Art of Retirement.
So
also.
go buy the book.
Yeah.
Go buy the book.
Yeah, for sure. It's an Amazon bestseller.
Amazon bestseller. Go buy the book.
it's
We
all-
bring good people here.
There you go. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on all the platforms. Quite frankly, Anthony Gordon, financial planner. Nobody else shows up. At least last time.
I know there's an interesting story about the Anthony Gordon. We're not gonna share it, but if you meet with him directly, you're gonna ask him about the story about Anthony Gordon, how he got that name.
Okay. There you go.
Thank you for joining us today on this episode, and remember to like, subscribe, and Anthony will be back next week, and he'll be talking about exit planning, so you don't want to miss that. So thank you for watching, and remember, we'll catch you on the next one.